My wife called me terrible in bed, but her best friend said he's actually amazing. She panicked. Her own words destroyed everything. Update 1. You know that moment when you hear something so shocking it feels like the ground disappears beneath your feet? That's exactly what happened when I heard my wife telling her friends I was terrible in bed. Not just bad, terrible with details that made my stomach turn. It was supposed to be a normal Saturday evening. We were hosting one of those casual get-togethers at our house. Nothing fancy, just her college friends catching up over wine and appetizers. I had stepped into the kitchen to grab more ice when I heard voices coming from the living room. The conversation was flowing. Typical girl talk until I heard my name mentioned. I froze right there by the refrigerator. Something in her tone made me listen closer. Honestly girls, I don't know what to do anymore. My wife was saying, he has no idea what he's doing. It's like being with a teenager who learned everything from bad movies. The laughter that followed hit me like a physical blow. These women who smiled at me and made polite conversation all evening were now laughing at my expense. That bad? One of them asked. Worse, he thinks he's some kind of expert. But it's just awkward. Really awkward. I've tried dropping hints but he doesn't get it. Sometimes I just lay there thinking about my grocery list. More laughter. More details I won't repeat. Each word felt like a knife twisting deeper. I stood there in my own kitchen, ice melting in my hands, listening to my wife of 6 years destroy me in front of her friends. This wasn't some private conversation between best friends. This was a public roasting and I was the main course. What made it worse was hearing how comfortable she sounded. This wasn't the first time she had talked about me like this. The way she delivered each punchline, the way her friends responded, it was all too rehearsed, too familiar. I set the ice down and walked quietly toward the living room doorway, staying just out of sight. I needed to see their faces. I needed to understand how deep this betrayal went. Maybe you should talk to him directly, suggested another voice. I recognized it as her best friend, the one who always seemed a bit different around me, more reserved. Now I was starting to understand why. Talk to him. My wife laughed again. And say what, honey? Everything you think you know about pleasing a woman is completely wrong. That would crush him. He's actually proud of himself if you can believe that. The cruelty in her voice was something I had never heard before. This wasn't the woman I married. This wasn't the woman who told me she loved me every morning. This was someone else entirely. I watched through the crack in the doorway as she took another sip of wine and continued her performance. Her friends were hanging on every word, some looking uncomfortable but still listening, others clearly enjoying the entertainment. The worst part is he thinks he's being romantic, she went on. All those little gestures, the way he tries to set the mood. It's almost sweet if it wasn't so ineffective. That's when something inside me shifted. Not heartbreak, not anger, something colder, more calculating. I had spent years trying to be the husband I thought she wanted. I had listened when she said she needed more attention, more romance, more effort. I had changed my schedule, adjusted my priorities, learned to communicate the way she said she preferred. And this entire time she was using me as material for her comedy routine. I stepped back from the doorway and walked quietly to our bedroom. I needed space to think. I needed to process what I had just discovered. Sitting on the edge of our bed, I replayed every conversation we had ever had about our relationship. Every time she said she was happy. Every time she told me I was getting better at understanding what she needed. Every time she smiled and said everything was fine. All lies, all performance. The worst part wasn't even the sexual criticism. It was the betrayal of trust. It was the fact that she could look me in the eye every day while secretly mocking me to her friends. I could hear them still talking downstairs, their voices carrying through the house I had worked so hard to provide. The house where I thought we were building something real together. But now I knew the truth. While I was building, she was demolishing. While I was investing, she was withdrawing. While I was trusting, she was betraying. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, letting it all sink in. Part of me wanted to storm downstairs and confront her right there in front of everyone. Part of me wanted to pack a bag and leave without saying a word. But neither of those options felt right. They felt reactive, emotional, weak. No, this situation called for something different, something more strategic. If my wife wanted to play games, I was about to show her what a real player looked like. If she wanted to humiliate me in private, she was about to learn what public humiliation actually felt like. But first I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. I needed to know how long this had been going on, who else knew, and most importantly what her real feelings were toward me. I walked back downstairs with a smile on my face, rejoining the party as if nothing had happened. I made conversation, refilled drinks, and played the role of the perfect host. But inside everything had changed. The man who had walked into that kitchen was gone. In his place was someone who understood that respect isn't given freely. It's earned, demanded, and when necessary, taken. The game had officially begun. Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.